Evening guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, which I've already recorded, I will show you exactly how I replaced the C10 manual steering with a Toyota Prius 2004 to 2009 electric steering column. So it's a direct replacement. I haven't really done much modifications. I've sort of made a bracket for the new column, but other than that there is a small amount of fabrication involved. Basic tools, easy to do. I think the Prius steering column cost me about 35 quid, and it was literally down the road. I went and picked it up on the bike. Simple. The reason for doing this is because I didn't want to spend £1,000 trying to import a new steering box, a power steering pump, all the belts, all the pulleys, when to import it into the UK is probably going to cost me anywhere near, with the parts, £1,000. So I did some scrolling, had a look, and found that you could actually do it with the Toyota Prius steering column. So in the video, this is what I'm going to show you from start to finish, of how I cut it all, made it and made it together and made it work, and also you'll see how it turns and how it functions. So let's get into it.
Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to measure, let's call it 3 inches? 2 inches. Let's call it 2 inches. So we're going to cut 2 inches off the cover of the spline to start. So what we'll do is we'll just stick some masking tape like that, and then the other side. Just so we know where our cut line is. That's not very straight. That is better. So we'll just get our cut line right. Lovely. And then we'll just get a grinder to this and we'll hack it down. So where's the grinder? There it is. Okay, now so the idea is we want to take this knuckle here and we want to cut it somewhere here, and then we want to get it, grasp it onto here, because what we want to do is be able to slide this shaft on. So this is the Toyota Prius shaft that was in here originally. Get that down so it's nice and mounted on there properly, and then we want to measure I think it's 16.5 centimeters. So 16. Hang on a minute. I don't even know how to work a ruler. Yes, I do. 1 second. There you go. 16.5 centimeters. So that's just in the middle of that bearing, but we could probably cut it a bit lower because we know that the shaft itself goes to 15 centimeters. So we could cut it at 16 and then work our way down. So if we stick that on all the way down, 16 centimeters, it's just below the bearing. So we'll cut just below the bearing there. All right, so what I did was I cut down the Toyota Prius shaft, and I've just stuck it on the lathe and just sort of tidied it up. And now we'll slide this onto the power steering, and then as you can see, it sits about, I don't know, half an inch down from the top. So what my plan is to now cut this because I'm going to give myself a bit of room to sort of make mistakes. So I'm going to cut this, and then all I'm going to do is with the lathe, I'm just going to turn it down so it fits snugly inside here. And then all I'm going to do is just weld it around there, because that's quite thick metal. That is extremely thick metal. So hopefully I can get a good connection between the two, and hopefully it will stick properly and not snap or fall off or break off while I'm doing 28 miles down the motorway. So that's the plan. So we'll get this out. Actually, I don't know whether we can just press these out and then slide that out, or whether we just cut it. I'd say we probably press it, because then at least we've not cut the shaft, we've actually just separated it and we can put it back together. So that's the plan. That's next. All right, so we got the shaft out of the top ball joint from the C10, and all we're going to do is just clean it up, and then we're going to get this bit in the lathe. We're going to give it a quick turn so we can get it inside here, and then we'll put the whole thing in the lathe, and then we'll straighten it up, and then we'll stick a weld on it, and then hopefully we can then go from there. Okay, so here's what we've done. So I've got the shaft from the Toyota Prius, which is here, and then I got the end of the shaft, which was on the C10 on the Chevy. Cut that down. So as you can see, that's the rag joint there. That's the breakaway part of the shaft, which goes into the other shaft. That's the shaft that I cut. This is the Toyota Prius shaft, and this, hang on, separate those two. So I've just separated that. So what happens was I cut the top off the joint on the C10, which had this inside, which was attached to here like that, and then I got it in the lathe and I made it all nice and flat and straight. And then all I did was took the larger portion of the shaft, and then I put that in there, like, hang on, like that. So that then sits in there like that, and then all I do is I'll stick a weld on that. So I'll get it nice and straight, and I'll stick a weld on, and then that then goes inside the shaft here like that. That slides on. That then slides on as far as that comes down. That's it, perfect. So then we've got a nice solid shaft. What did he say? Then that goes into the top of the truck, and then the bottom half here will go into here. Once I've cut it sort of roughly here, and then welded this part onto here. Okay, we're back. I've got a coffee in my 4 Capri mug. We use the shaft off here like that, cut it down. So we cut off the internal spline, and also cut this down. But what I did was I took the joint that goes into the truck. This is a standard Chevy part. I cut it off from here basically, and then I used the larger part to insert it, and then I've just put a couple of tack welds while it was in the lathe. And then all that happens is that goes in there like that. That then goes in the top of the truck like that, and this bottom bit then connects to here like that, and then the rag joint then goes on the end like that. So that's essentially what it will look like. I just need to machine this down a little bit, but I can't fit it in my lathe, so I might just have to do a bit of guesswork, but get that nicely welded on so it's nice and strong. I will show you what it looks like in the truck. Give me a sec. Okay, so we're back in the truck. So as I explained before, let me just get this motor sat down. So this now fits inside here. This is that's the standard Chevy joint that came in there. It's got loads of grease in it. So what we're going to do is we're either going to get a new one of that, or we're going to try and find the rubber for it. But what the rubber will do is, the rubber will, once I've welded this completely, that will sit in there slightly far in, and then you've still got the angles, so you still be able to move it around. But what it's done is it's shortened everything. So now if I hold that there, I get the power steering. So now that slides in there nice and high. Move this out of the way. And now you can see that's probably going to sit somewhere like that. And then this joint then goes on here, like that, like that. And obviously the other joint goes on the end. I'll see if I've got my hammer here, I'll be able to bang it on. I haven't got my hammer here. All right, so as I was saying, so that now fits in there like that. This joint sits here like that, and then potentially the rad joint goes on here, and then let me just see if I can put it on like that, and then that then goes on like that. But it looks like I've got to shorten it substantially, so I've got to take still quite a bit off. Actually, I thought I didn't have to take that much off, but looks like I do actually have to take quite a bit down. Okay, I'll get that measured and then we'll cut that off. Okay, well, apart from welding it all up, we are pretty much done. We need to obviously make a bracket for it, but in regards to making it all fit, it does. So obviously I've used the old rag joint there. I've literally bolted it onto the piece from the Prius, from the bottom of the Prius. Cut that, use the spline inside to slot it on. Then I'm going to weld everything inside and outside to make that nice and strong. Bolt through there to secure that, and then obviously I'll put the rest of the gubbins back in there, and then I'll make the bracket. I'll probably do it to here, or I might even do like a dual bracket, because at the moment I've got quite a nice little setup to here, so maybe I'll do something there. But in regards to you know, making a functional steering system, pretty much taken us 4 hours, 5 hours, let's call it 5 hours, mucking around this morning. But yeah, 5 hours and she's in, and then I've got to weld everything up and then we're done. Now I just checked, but I think the dimensions are the same. So this is what we're trying to do. So I think that we do this, because look, that goes there, or maybe a little bit of mucking around, but let's not far off. And then that way, put a bolt through there, plate through there, and job's a good one. I will keep you posted and let you know what's going on. Okay, here's my thoughts. I've got the bracket on one side here. What I'm thinking is, because the motor needs to be upright, when it's upright like this, yeah, you've got like that, 12 o'clock, that is now facing that way. That goes directly in line with the two bolts here. So technically, we could have a bar coming across here, and then a bar coming up, and then it bolts straight onto here. And you could even have another piece going from here to here to make it even more stable. But I think for the moment, bolted onto these two bits here and bolted through here, it should be enough to hold it on. So here's what I'm thinking. So we do this, and then we go through like this, and that goes straight into there. That's just a bolt I found in the garage. Give you a better look. That goes through there, but then that, so this was the original part from here, shave that down on the lathe, cut that down into there, so that gives it stability. So then you've got a bolt through here, that's then solid, fixes that on, and then that then runs flush with here, and we bolt it straight on. How about that? Okay, so we're back and we have almost finished the bracket, but I'm just going to test it before I weld it all up. I've got my lovely assistant in the car. If you just go full left, yeah, and then full right. Okay, back to normal. This is the truck about to come down the driveway. Okay, good morning everyone. Very good morning to you all. It's 9 degrees, it's beautiful sun, and we're back on the truck. It is finished, and it's working, and it functions, and it's brilliant. And there's my cheese sandwich. But everything is sort of wired in, The power steering, electric power steering is in. It's more or less solid, so you literally won't be able to move that. What I'm gonna do is I'll show you what the bracket looks like. So it is mounted on the rear here, and then it goes, but it bypasses the other bolt, but I might stick another bolt in there. This is 3mm steel, which I had left over sitting in the garage. So what I spoke about yesterday was I used the adjuster column for the original Prius power steering, and I modified it, and I made a I don't know if you can see that, I used the hollow shim, but then I put it in the lathe, and I took about 1.5 mm off, and then that allowed me to get the other bolt through the other side in here. So then that I could mount this bracket, which means I've got one singular mounting point for the power steering. Literally, if I unbolt that and take the rag joint off, the power steering will just slip out. So here needs to be reinforced. I might put a little thing up there, because if you look at it, it is still a bit unrigid. I don't know if unrigid is the right word, or even unrigid is an actual word, but I've lost my train of thought now. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, single point mounting, yes, absolutely. So it is still a little bit sort of wobbly, but I mean, I've tested the power steering, it works absolutely fine. So I need to finish off the welds here, take all this down, round all these off to make it nice, round all this off to make it nice. Might put some new bolts through here. I've got some new ones anyway, but I'm using the original nuts, but I'll get some nice new washers on there, some lock washers. We've got to weld up this section here, and as I say, I might run maybe something down here and then across to this, which will make it slightly more rigid. But in regards to does it work, absolutely it works. It's incredible. So we've already wired it up, and when I say wired, I mean just twisted the wires together. So you've obviously got positive, negative, and this is switched live. So this at the moment is together with the power. So when you hook it up, it gives it power. But what you would do is, whether you want to mount the box on the inside the engine bay, or whether you want to mount it underneath the dash, which is probably what I'm going to do, this is a switch live. So as soon as you turn the key on and it turns all the dials on, all the rest of it, that's your switch live. So that comes from that black cable goes straight into your switch live. But I'll plug it in and you can hear it go click. So that's that there. Ready? Click. Did you hear that? Wait about 10 seconds. And nothing happens. Perfect. No, that should be good now. So that's all live. Let's jump in the truck. Now, I don't want to steer it right, because otherwise we'll go down the garage and I've got no brakes or handbrake or anything. But we'll turn it left. Now, this is one finger, look. That. Look at that. Perfect. And we'll go back. Absolutely. I mean, it is just literally, there's no play in the steering wheel whatsoever. There's nothing. It literally is perfect. And we're back. So there we have it. Took about, I don't know, let's call it an 8-hour project to get that in and done. Now, is there a few more bits to do? Absolutely. But literally, we've got power steering. So for me, it's just about continuing to make it better, getting the bracket in a secure position, and getting everything replaced. So that obviously the rag joint needs to be replaced, all the grease needs to be done, and the rubber seal needs to be done as well. But that is it. 8-hour job, minimal tools, little bit of welding, little bit of fabrication skills. That's it. Super simple. So that's how we did it. Again, thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you very much for the follows and the likes. And again, drop any comments down and I will answer them ASAP. I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks. Have a good afternoon. Take care.